Hey everybody, welcome to the breakdown of my newest song, Somewhere Out There. This one I'm going to go over just the steps I took to make this, to create this. This will also be available for you to download as well. And hopefully it helps you out along your journey in creating your music. So we'll play a little bit of the chorus here. All right. So this is your classic melodic progressive style of music right here, and it's all made on FL Studio Mobile. You can see over here and over here with the mixer and the plugins used that everything is pretty much stock part of the app itself. So if you don't have this, you could download it. You can start making your own melodies pretty quickly here and make your own things. So we'll start with the piano sound first here. We'll go to preview and with this one, basically I just kind of started the whole track off. It jumped the whole track off. I kind of just pulled up the piano, started playing some keys, and then this kind of worked into the whole track itself. But the real magic, I guess I should say, is the little harp that I made that basically leads and carries the melody through. If you've ever seen me make another track or seen anything like that before, then you know I'm a big fan of using some sort of repetitive element to sort of carry the track through. And there's quite a few of repetitive elements here that sort of work their way into the track. So you can sort of study this and break this down to see like what repetitive elements am I using versus what I'm not, what I'm like making more unique to kind of bring out the track itself. So we have this little harp element here, which starts it off, and it also has a little pad that's basically a drone pad. If you don't know about drone pads or drone notes, they're just notes that stay on the same key every time and kind of carry throughout the track. Sort of like if you were to arpeggiate it, it would stay the same two notes the entire time and sort of go back and forth. So this is how our pad starts off, and this is sort of lays the base for my track. And that's pretty much the main elements of the track. Of course, we have a little pluck sound here. And that's sort of the chord progression, which follows along the bass line. And the bass line's pretty simple. It's not anything super complicated, but it follows a four note structure, or three note, I guess, because it sort of hits the A twice. And you can listen to it here. It's really four notes because that little sort of drop on the G sharp, which sort of carries it from that high A to that F sharp, and that's a pretty decent tactic, if you don't want to like jarringly jump your bass line from one note to the next. Adding a little note in between at the end to sort of fall down or bring up is a pretty good idea. I didn't do it on this little first bar here, so it's not like you have to do it every time. It's not a rule or anything. It's just another way to kind of add a little bit of uniqueness and creativity to your bass and give it a little bit of that extra movement if you need to have that extra movement in there. Then we have our little, it says flute, but I don't believe this is a flute. It's really just a different level synth. It started as a flute, But this little thing right here is just sort of like a phrase introduction. And that just introduces each part of the 4-bar phrase here. And it goes all the way throughout it as well. And the same thing with these little, it says harp, but again, it's not a harp. Actually it is, but it's a very hugely modified harp. It has like a phaser on it, delay. It's highly verbed out. And that's sort of like not just to start the phrase, but to end the phrase. And I do that a lot too, kind of start the phrase with something, and then we go out and then we end it with something else as well. So like 2 different little melodic elements here that sort of their sole purpose is just to end the phrase that we're going into and start the next phrase that we're doing, or the next section, whatever you would like to call it. So that's really it there. And then we have, of course, this little guitar sound here. And that's really just same thing. It's kind of like in the middle of the phrase, as the phrase is going, it adds that little bit of character inside of the phrase to make it just a little bit unique from the other sort of the sections that are going on here. So we're basically just doing 3 different melodic elements, and then we have what's this super saw here. It's just a little arp. And the ARP is they're usually one of my favorite little sections to kind of play around with and add. I really like to throw those in there in such a way and then have them kind of move in the song in such a way that makes it a little bit more unique, or adds a little bit more movement to the song itself. And we can listen to that here. This little line triangle right here is just simply me filtering it in. So it starts from nothing and then it filters in all the way, which, let's see if we can, there, how about we do it like this? Let's do it like this. So you can see there when the ARP comes in, it sort of fades in, and then it has a little, each of the little bar, it has a little it's sort of like an expression. I'm not sure what proper terms are, but I call it like a little like flourish or expression at the end of its thing, at the end of its little section that it plays. And you can see it goes for 2 bars, and then at the very end of that second bar, it has 2 extra notes on it to kind of make the ARP sort of change and go a little bit higher in the register, to add just that little bit of flourish to the song itself. And this one is not consistent. You can see here in this track, it has different parts where it comes in. Like you sort of preview it right here a little bit, and then it stops. The song plays out, and then it comes back in for a little bit, and then it stops. So that's really how it all works. It's not, you can see the elements aren't too complicated. They're all pretty simple elements. And hopefully this is something that can sort of open your eyes a little bit, or open your ears, and sort of explain to you how you can go about making this track yourself. Just a side note that, yeah, all of this, 90% of this was just created on the iPad. It wasn't no special equipment needed or anything extra. I didn't have any monitor speakers. I did listen to the mix on headphones after I was done with the entire thing, pretty much. And that really was just for the drums, specifically the kick. What you'll find is sometimes the kick might be a little too long in its tail. And if you go to these envelope sections here in FL Mobile, you go to the envelope and you mess with the decay, turn the sustain down, mess with the decay, and then figure out the pitch, where you want it, what sounds good, or you could sort of try to match your pitch to the root note of your song. That would work too. So I use the headphones to just sort of listen to the drums, to make sure the drums are decent, and then everything else is just sort of effects. So this is just a riser right here, and then we have a little like crash cymbal, and then here the most, I guess the thing that wasn't included with FL was these little sound effects here. And these are just like little birds chirping that I found from freesound.org. And I just put those in there because I love a little bit of that natural, nature-esque atmosphere. I love the sounds that are out there. And I didn't have any like immediately available to me, so I went to freesound.org, found some, dropped them in there, and sort of added them sporadically throughout the mix, just to give it a little bit of that unique character. And something that I typically like to do in my music anyways is, throw like these real nature sound effects in there, like waterfalls, wind blowing, streams, anything of that nature. I love throwing those in there. So if you are making music, you are doing this, go ahead and pick you up some sounds from freesounds.org, find some that might match, drag them in here, import them in here, which sometimes importing them can be kind of tricky. The first one I downloaded actually didn't even wasn't able to pull up inside of FL Mobile, so I had to download another one. So it just depends. Sometimes they won't work, and don't get discouraged. Just find another one and throw them in there. Pretty much that's every element here. We have a little this is a little echo clap. And that's just, same thing. It's just adding a little bit of extra character to the drums as they're playing throughout the section and giving you a little bit of movement to go along with it all. So that's pretty much it. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 elements, 6 elements basically, and the drums. And that created the entirety of this track. It's also really long, so I actually had to shorten it up a little bit. It's kind of funny how these you can get carried away with how long these tracks can be, especially in like a melodic progressive house sense. You won't really, you won't really be cognizant of it that it's going so long until you're like, oh, go back and listen to it, and like, dang, this is 10 minutes, So it was actually like 11 minutes and some change. So I had to remove a couple of sections, delete it out a little bit, and then we called it good. So just kind of keep that in mind. It's okay to make them long. Shoot, I don't mind them being as long as possible, like a 20-minute song would be cool. But for sharing it and uploading it and stuff, it's actually a little bit more convenient if it's under 10 minutes, because you just run into some issues where you can't give it an ISRC if it's longer than 10 minutes. Well, you can, but you have to split it into 2 parts in some way. And so it gets a little bit more difficult. And that's okay. Those are creative limitations, so don't be afraid to take it long if you want to, and don't be afraid to make it half this long, You don't have to make it super long as I make them. I just really enjoy the whole process of doing it, and I like to add things, see how long I can move it, and then go from there. So that's pretty much it. This right here, this is actually nothing. It's muted, but I left it in there in case I was like, I might use it. And then this right here, this basic plugin, this is just a long form bass. So are we on preview? Yeah. So if you're listening on the phone, you probably didn't hear that, but it's just a little like sub sound basically that I put in there to sort of run through the bridge. Bridges are pretty much my favorite part of the track, the part where it kind of quiets down and it gives you a little time to breathe and sort of reflect or meditate on what's going on. So I really enjoy just those long extended kind of bridges where it just sort of lets you calm all the way down, and then it'll bring you back up to the drums and to the speed and to the sort of dancey vibe, the uplifting sort of vibe here. And that carries it out. So it's really simple format, really simple layout, nothing too complicated here. But I hope that this was helpful to you, and I hope that, you are able to pull this up into your own, on your own app, pull it up, and you could do some things like maybe just take the drums out, or maybe you could just take just this little piece right here and make your own completely new different song from it. Or if you're having trouble, just take this bass line right here. Take this bass line, the way it's laid out, copy it, and then layer your own chords and melodies and arps and everything on top of it, or you could take this little piano here, because this is like some kind of unique little pattern right here. Take that and throw your own tracks on top of it. I think it'll be really cool to hear people who have decided to do that, but also just to hear the creations period, and encourage you to create your own music and make it what you want. So that's going to be it for this breakdown. Like I said, it really wasn't too complicated, and it's a lot easier to kind of talk about it and explain it than it is when you're actually making it, because some of these decisions don't come till maybe much later in the track, but that's okay. And some of them come way earlier, but really just understanding sort of the structure here, and seeing, oh, okay, he went from this little bass line here to a little quiet part to the bass, this long form bass here, the sustained bass. Those kind of things, those tricks right there, are what will help you create your own tracks, and also give you some insight about what decisions should I be making at this point in my track. And this isn't a perfect, arrangement, but it's pretty good for what I'm trying to create. Mellow prog, happy vibes, good vibes. Putting out there to the world something good that can hopefully help another person along their journey in life, and bring a little bit of happiness to you. So thank you guys so much for watching. Thank you for tuning in, and be sure you download this track itself. It will be free to download from my SoundCloud, and you can download the mobile project from my website. So if you don't know, head on over to Z8phyR.com, look in the mobile section. I think it's under resources, and look under resources, find the mobile pack, download this. It's free, and you can pull this up in your own project and tear it apart, rework it, remix it, whatever your heart tells you to do. Go ahead, or just study it. Use it as some form of study material, and hopefully that'll help you along your way in life as well, and in your productions. And if you have any questions, feel free to holler at me. Let me know what you think about it. Anything you're kind of confused about, or you're like, why in the world did you do this? I'll be happy to answer it for you. So thank you guys so much, and have a beautiful, beautiful day.